Welcome to the Frida Learning Series, brought to you by NowSecure. This is Module 4, Scripting for Frida on Android, continued. This is the continuation of our two-part series focused on Frida scripting for the Android OS. Hello, my name is Michael Kruger, and I'll be joining you today on your journey through this module. I'm the Senior Director of Application Security here at NowSecure. I lead NowSecure's team of expert mobile penetration testers and reverse engineers. In this module, we'll dive into the instrumentation of native functions. You'll also learn about some great resources for getting more scripting examples. And as always, you'll have opportunities at the end to solidify your learning with some hands-on exercises. Let's recap what we learned in Module 3. Last module, you started to dig into the basic building blocks of Frida scripting, including the use of Java-specific directives. You also learned that you'll need to use the overload function when hooking overloaded methods. We provided a convenient list of Java to Frida data type conversions. You also learned how to replace return values and arguments within a hooked function. Finally, you experience the need to wrap native objects in JavaScript objects for reference. Now let's continue our Android scripting with instrumenting native Android functions. In this example, you see the companion app again. This time we are clicking on Hook Native Methods. Immediately, we see a pop-up with some text reminiscent of a popular poem, but it's not quite right. Our goal is to fix the text. Our first goal is to open this up in JADX. We find the calling function leads us to the native example class, but here's where we hit a snag. We see that there is an instance of system.loadLibrary, which is an indicator that the app is loading a native library, in this case, Frida series example. In order to continue the analysis, we'll need to extract that library and learn more about the function we need to hook. Before we do, however, let's back up and briefly set a foundation of some important terms. There are several terms you should be familiar with before continuing. The first is the Native Development Kit, or NDK. It is a set of tools that allows developers to use C and C++ code in Android applications. Next is Native Shared Libraries, which is what we'll focus on in this module. They are libraries, or .so files, built by the NDK from C or C++ source code. There are also native static libraries, which are libraries or .a files built by the NDK, which can link into other libraries. And finally, the Java Native Interface, or JNI, is the interface by which the Java and C++ components talk to one another. We can't forget the Application Binary Interface, or ABI, which defines exactly how the app's machine code is expected to interact with the system at runtime. Now, the NDK builds .so files against these definitions. Different ABIs correspond to different architectures. When you open your APK in JADX, or if you rename the APK as a .zip, extract and explore, you'll find a lib directory, or lib, that contains all of your native shared libraries as .so files. You'll also notice that there are multiple copies of these in various architecture subdirectories. These are the different versions of the library as defined by the ABI. Now let's go back to our decompiled code and find the calling method for our button. That method is m4_native_example. It calls a few functions from the native example class, but the last is a call to native example.theRaven. Within the same class, we find our first definitive indicator that the class is loading a shared library, the system.loadLibrary call. As we saw in our lib folder, it points to the Frida series-example library. Within the class, you can also see the defined native function, theRaven. This is the one we'll need to evaluate further. We can see from here, however, that the function has a return value of type string, so we can infer that this value may give us what we need. Just like our scripts before, we can write a simple script to intercept that return value and change it. Right? Well, yes and no. Remember that all of our scripts up to this point run as soon as the Java VM is available. However, in this case, we are attempting to hook a function that is dynamically loaded, meaning that we will have to wait until the system loads our library before we can hook it. That certainly complicates things, but we do have a way around this. We can see here that we've created a wrapper around our previous script. Yes, it's quite a few added lines, but don't be overwhelmed. The wrapper is reusable. In this section, we're simply hooking the system.loadLibrary function first, and then looking for our target library. Once that is loaded, then we can continue with our script. So why does this work? Here's a snippet from the system.java file that's part of the actual Android operating system. As you can see, the system.loadLibrary calls the runtime's loadLibrary function. Note the 0 at the end, that's not a typo. And it passes the calling function and the library to load. As you can see here, system.loadLibrary and runtime.loadLibrary are effectively the same. LoadLibrary 0 then handles the loading of the library. Now back to our script. We hook the system.loadLibrary function so we can intercept whenever a library is loaded. We then call the original runtime.loadLibrary method with its expected arguments. We use vmstack.getCallingClassLoader to return the class loader of the class that declared the method that called our current method. In other words, if my function called system.loadLibrary, it would return that function's class loader. We also pass the library name that's being loaded. Now we rerun our script, and voila, it works. This wrapper is very useful and reusable for various native library initiatives, so it's best we arm you with some backwards compatibility. The vmstack.getCallingClassLoader function is actually a deprecated function in the latest versions of the Android OS, and it will likely be removed in a future version. Instead, the convention is to use reflection to get the caller class. So for Android API 29 and up, we can have our script do this. For APIs 24 to 28, we can use the getCallingClassLoader that we previously used. And for older APIs, we can use the following convention. Now let's get back to our native example class. Remember that two other functions got called when you click that button. GetMyValue is a little different though. It doesn't appear there's a return value. We'll need to analyze this routine further. How, you ask? Well, we can use a disassembler such as Radare or R2 or Ghidra. Here, you can see a live example of navigating Ghidra and visiting some of the functions from the Raven example earlier. We'll have a later module focus on more in-depth analysis of native shared library analysis that will dig deeper into these tools. However, we'll give you just enough here to understand the logic. Here, you can see two examples of our methods being disassembled in Ghidra. In order to link or pair the Java declared native method and the function in the native library dynamically, the developer names the method and the function according to the JNI specs, such that the system can perform this dynamic linking. According to the spec, a native method name is concatenated from the following components. First, the prefix Java, then an underscore separator, followed by a mangled fully qualified class name, followed by an underscore separator, followed by a mangled method name, and then for overloaded native methods, 2 underscores, followed by the mangled argument signature. We can see that example 2 isn't returning a value through our JNI, so we'll not be able to hook in the same way we were before. In the function, we can see that there is a value that's getting put together via printf, so we can attempt to target that function instead. To do that, we'll use something called Frida's interceptor. The interceptor API allows us to hook functions or code sections using a valid memory address. It provides several callbacks. On enter, which allows us to observe or modify what is being submitted to the function before its execution begins, and onLeave, which allows us to observe or modify return values or the function arguments during the function execution. The only required input of this API is a pointer specifying the current memory address of the desired target function. Therefore, either we provide the actual address, if it is known, or we use module.findExportByName inline, which will return a pointer to the function given as an input. When using module findExportByName, it should be given an explicit library name as input. Use null only when the library is unknown or the desire is to scan all modules. Let's look at the getMyValue function in Ghidra again. Notice it tells us that this routine doesn't return. We'll need to focus our attention on this printf function instead. We can now write our interceptor script. We point it at the correct library and the method we want to target, and then hook it to print the arguments passed to printf. We know printf contains at least one argument, but it may contain more. In our Ghidra output, we saw that printf also accepted 2 strings as arguments, so we'll have it print out each of these arguments as well. Sure enough, the completed string is the NowSecure Frida series example value is waffles are delicious. So far, we've focused on building our own scripts from the ground up, but let's face it, there is a time commitment to doing so. We'd be remiss if we didn't call out a great resource for you as you build up your own scripts. That's the Frida Code Share. Frida Code Share is a repository of ready-to-run Frida scripts that can be used for tasks on Android and iOS, and it can inspire the creation of your own scripts. The project is a collaboration between developers from around the world who want to push Frida to its limits in new ways. Using a script from the Frida Code Share is actually quite easy. You can use the following convention directly from the Frida CLI to trigger the script. Don't forget, you can also customize these scripts for your use in your own projects. Need to target a different library? No problem, just download and customize. Remember though to give attribution to the original author if you publish. You're almost finished with this module. We have a few things for you to remember. Number 1, make sure when hooking a native library that it is loaded first. Always use mangled function names when attempting to hook native functions. Often, Ghidra has demangling enabled by default. Remember, Frida Trace can jumpstart your tracing of your target methods and functions. Let's try a hands-on exercise now. Please pay close attention to the requirements. If you don't have the requisite tools or devices, feel free to skip or come back to it later. Exercise 1. Your goal is to install the NowSecure Academy Companion Android app and trigger the Module 4 root bypass section. This module is using different root detection than we showed earlier. In fact, there are 2 methods in use. Can you find them and bypass them both? If you need help, try starting at the M4 root exercise method. Pause now while you work on this exercise. Stop. If you haven't yet completed the exercise and you wish to without assistance, please pause the course at this time. Let's take a look at the solution. First, we need to identify the root detection mechanisms. Evaluating the root utils class shows a call to check root, which, if true, triggers a pop-up. We then see a comparison between sneaky root and sneaky compare, which, if true, sets some on-screen text to you are running on a rooted device. A little bit of research reveals that the rootbeer is rooted function is used to create the pop-up. Now, rootbeer is an open source root detection mechanism that analysts at NowSecure often see in publicly available apps. To defeat, we simply need to hook the isRooted function and return false. The sneaky root, sneaky compare functions are part of a native library called We Are Rooting For You. Sneaky compare always returns the word NowSecure root. Sneaky root returns either no if not rooted, or NowSecure root if one of 11 different SU or superuser file paths exist. This is a very basic indicator that the device that we're running on is in fact rooted. To overcome this, again, we'll use interceptor to hook the sneaky root function and use the return value.replace function built into interceptor to replace the string with another string, thereby overriding the root detection. And we have successfully completed the challenge. Well done. Thank you for viewing this module of the NowSecure Academy Frida Learning series. In the next module, we'll switch gears a bit and take a look at Android web views. Stay tuned for more. For more information and to develop your mobile AppSec knowledge, make sure you check out the rest of our existing catalog of courses at NowSecure Academy.